going on, Greg? Matt, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm trying a different setup. This is my own laptop, and
Ship those the premium on the balance.
Are you?
I can hear and see everybody else. So can you guys hear and see me?
Yeah, it looks like you in a ski lodge with the jacket on.
I'm in like a little miniature room here that Hampton has. You remember when you were here and you and me and Scott sat down in that little lounge area? It's just one of those rooms right next to the lounge area.
I know what you're talking about. Looks like Greg busted out for a second. He should be back in any minute here, and we'll kick it off.
I think he's talking business. So, are you still in Oregon, or did you get back to Chicago?
No, I'm heading tomorrow morning, going out west, be in Colorado tomorrow, and then Oregon on Friday through next Wednesday.
So you're coming in. Are you flying into Redmond or Portland?
Redmond.
Okay. Well, if you find your way across if you end up driving over the valley here and you want to hang out, come find me.
Yeah, I may do that. There's Greg. Welcome back.
Greg. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you perfect, man. Very perfect. Right. So, interesting. Since our last show, everybody, welcome to This Week in Lumber with Matt Beamer from Hampton Lumber Sales, Greg Riley from Sitka USA. Good to have you guys back on. We got a bunch of people streaming in here. I wrote down a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about, and it looks like pure gibberish after I wrote it down, but I'll throw it out to you guys. And, I want to talk a little bit about the summary of the week. We'll get back to that. A little inflation data came out this week. Interest rates seem to be the talk today because they're going up again. Greg, you usually can dig into that pretty good. Mixed housing data. It seems like the prices of existing homes are probably going down in areas that really got overvalued and not doing much, and still liquid in areas that didn't go up as fast. But things are still slightly moving. We had a seasonal lumber buy. It looks like we had and went. Freight still seems to be falling, trucking freight. Liquidity seems to be a little tougher than it was last week. And then had a note here. One person told me that a bunch of the big trading houses with big floors are out trying to get short this week. So that's what I had. How about you guys? What's your thoughts on stuff? Where are we at right now? Is this a great opportunity?
So what's interesting is, in terms of stats, we do have housing starts for January are out on Friday, and I'm actually calling that's going to be a better number than people expect. I think one of the surprises that we're going to have is that new home building is going to snap back a little bit better than people anticipated. And to support that information, I have home builder sentiment for February came out this morning, and it showed the biggest improvement on a month-to-month basis in 10 years.
Wow. So,
that's that's kind of telling you. If I go to my backdrop, I go, okay, we came into the first of the year with a market that was severely underbought. People had liquidated inventory in the fourth quarter, and we got a catalyst of some curtailments, and we had a buy. Probably went too far too fast, and now is probably overcorrecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we overcorrect. If you look at a chart of the March futures or the May futures contract, it's interesting because it's really a shallow slope, and then all of a sudden you get to the first of the year and it's just like, it just goes right back into volatility. We went from low of 360, 380 range to a high of 530, 540 in a short period of time. And the steepness of that incline is now matched by a fairly significant sell-off. And I see these both as overreactions, right? the mills have shown that they will curtail, and I don't think they're bluffing, right? I mean, it is expensive, and you are losing money at 400. I see the buy at 390, 400. Anything below 400 actually looks to me like a pretty good investment long term. But we'll see if other people agree with me or not. But that's my read on it. I think we have overreacted, just like we overreacted the first sell off when we got down to 360. That was an unsustainable number.
Yeah, no doubt. And look at even the builders that I talk to. When you try to read into what they're saying, everything sounds. I mean, they kind of went through their time of despair, so to speak. They feel pretty good about stuff. The people I'm talking to, and they cleaned up a lot of the stuff they need to clean up with incentives or whatever it is, and without digging through all their financial information, I think they're in a lot. And again, let's go back to what I think, Greg, you mentioned this. This doesn't seem like 2011, right? It seems like they've got their inventories in line. Their land costs are low enough. They right-sized right away. Yeah, there's going to be some headwinds in some different markets, but maybe I guess that goes directly related to what you just said about builder sentiment, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the issues. I mean, lumber prices are back down, even with the run up that we had. I mean, they were still relatively affordable, prices that they could work with, and a lot of the other products now for building materials are starting to adjust and get back in line. I mean, some of them are a little stickier than others, but I talked to somebody on iJoist that said, there's quite a substantial realignment of those prices that's in the process of happening. I did see it was interesting that Warren Buffett continues to load up on LP stock in the fourth quarter.
I didn't see that. Freight wise, what are you guys seeing on freight? I mean, when I'm looking at trucks, it seems like every time I check on a lane, the freights are kind of are continuing to drop, or is that stabilized? Greg, Matt, you guys get in that pretty good. Am I watching it fall and maybe it's already bounced and I'm not seeing that?
I haven't seen a bounce. I've just seen kind of back to the old way of doing things where if you need to book some trucks, you can book some trucks and you don't have to worry about them canceling and you can get a relatively good rate. So the business of distributing lumber in the country right now is back to historically normal ebb and flow of material. And I think that the trucking is back to being more of a reliable, we all went through that period of unreliability with trucking, where uncertainty with trucking, where you even after you booked a truck, you weren't sure if it was going to actually ship. I lost half of my hair and I didn't have any hair to lose in about a 3-month period there where it just was a guessing game. So, interestingly enough, though, the old trucking lanes that never were popular, for the last 25 years of our careers, they're still not popular. You still got to pay $3 a mile if you want to go to Denver or Phoenix. But if you got a good backhaul, you can get $1.50 a mile to $1.80 a mile on some of these hauls. So yeah, that's historically in the range of normal.
Yeah, I would say, I guess I'd look at, the rates have come, most rates are back down to where they were, kind of like, pre-pandemic prices, which they'd had some increase from what we had been used to for a number of years. But most of them are back down in that range. There's some that are still a little bit marginally higher. And then there's some lanes that we paid a ridiculously low, and paid the same money for 10 years, and they should have gone up. So it did.
There's two things that changed,
so
though,
I guess
Greg.
the question's going to be it's the second week we're in the second week in February, and historically, produce season comes into play in the next 30 to 45 days, and we'll see how big of an impact that has this year.
And then there's two other things that have changed here since the beginning of the pandemic. So even though freights have kind of gone back to what Greg was talking about here a second ago, pre-pandemic type rates. What is different now is rail rates are much higher, much higher. Um, you know, Ashley, years ago, I think about 10 years ago, I bought a bunch of utility from Canada. I paid $88 FOB Prince George, and I paid $90 freight to get it down to Dallas. That was the old freight rate. Now it costs
Yeah.
140 to 145 bucks to go to Dallas on rail. And, you know, we're seeing those types of freight increases everywhere. Like Chicago used to be 80 for all the sawmills. Now it's like 100 to 110, depending on what region you're in. So, you know, trucking is becoming more competitive on some of these hauls. We're able to haul stuff down the West Coast on the I-5 corridor, either on semis or loading vans for less than rail right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know
there's going to be
yeah.
some other competition here with trucking, not just the produce season, but some of these lanes are now going to be trucked instead of rail.
No doubt, Matt. I saw that reading an article about containers. And there's a lot of people that haul containers on rail cars. You know, they load them. You're sitting at a stoplight. And you see these containers.
Yep.
It's cheaper on many of these hauls now to load these containers on trucks and haul them to the location than it is on putting them on rail, right?
Sure, significantly. It's
Yeah.
not like $5 cheaper. It's $20 cheaper.
Yeah, which is going to eat into it. So, question: buyer's mentality. What you guys are seeing with your people right now? It seems this is a resounding conversation or a continuing conversation. We have a buyer's mentality. They've always been a herd mentality. When they all want to buy, they want to buy at once, and then when they stop, they all stop at once because they heard from a guy that another guy that somebody's got too much wood on a port or somewhere else, and the price is going down. And then there's smart buyers out there that just look at value and say, okay, and they're the first ones into the market, right? And they're the key ones that we always see when they're like, oh, this person just bought, they must, you know, they're usually the first ones in. What are, you know, we're kind of, as Matt, you talked about the chart, we went straight up, we went kind of right back down. How are you guys thinking of stuff right now? Where you sit and without giving away too much of your game plan, how are you handling it? And what's your next go to for the next 7, 14 days, month? What's your thought on stuff? How you're going to handle things?
I think, you know, right. Me personally, I'm just waiting for my material to come in. I think my customers are in the same boat. So, I think that might be part of the reason why we've had a little bit of a pause here. I mean, there was a lot of lumber bought in a 2 or 3 week period, and now it just needs to ship and arrive. And then the weather has been a bit of a factor in some of the consuming regions. Just give the consumer an extra week or 10 days of time, right, to slow things down a little bit on the consumption side. So, you know, those two things, the natural ebb and flow of give and take of the lumber business, we're just in one of those ebb periods. And I think we're going to get back into a flow period here in the next 3 weeks. I'll actually be traveling to Texas here in a couple weeks, and I'll be curious to see with my own eyes what's going on down there on the ground. But no, I just feel like we're just in one of those digestion periods that we always go through after a rally. And I don't really read much into that other than it just is what it is.
You know, for buyers, Ashley, and you know, we work for a guy who had some pretty good adages, and you know, if you're in this business, you know, typically, you know, you want to buy when people want to sell, and you want to sell when people want to buy, and that goes for Matt and myself, and it, you know, goes for sawmills. One of the things that I noticed is, you know, after the last couple of years, you know, there was a lot of sawmills that didn't want to sell when the market was good a few weeks ago, and that was a mistake,
Right?
clearly.
So explain that a little bit more, Greg. I get a lot of like, but no, and I work for some of the same guys, and I remember sitting out there where sometimes there are certain guys that wanted to sell when other people wanted to sell too, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got a situation right now in the secondary market where there's some people falling over themselves, you know, to sell, and whether that's because they didn't didn't sell when the people wanted to buy over the last few weeks. I'm not sure. Or it's the other thing is you've got a lot of people in this business that haven't been around as long as Matt and I have, and there's a number of people that if you've only been in the business for 3 or 4 years, that's your body of knowledge of what it's like. Matt made the comment about it's much more of a normal market that we're used to, and I think that's what we have going forward. I mean, personally, I was expecting the market after, like bottoming out, to bounce in a much narrower range and trade sideways. I mean, this move was a lot more than I expected. And I think we're still in a place where we're going to bounce plus or minus the cost of production for an extended period of time. So, that being said, if we look at March futures, we're at unsustainably low levels for Western spruce. We're not going to be able to stay at those price levels for extended period of time. What's the business like? Well, I mean, if home builder sentiment's indicating we're going to get better single family than we expected, we know that the multifamily sector is still very, very strong. I mean, I can personally say that I have a number of jobs that have been delayed that are all starting in the next several weeks that need some lumber, and starting to see inquiry for second quarter, April, May, June starts. Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit about the home center business.
Well, it's electric. I mean, I told you last week it was better than it should be for we're about a month ahead of time, and we picked up even more business last week over the week before. So, it's if you're talking about the triangle of what supports the stool of the construction industry and the lumber business, you'd have your industrial business. You've got your multifamily and your single family homes, and then you've got the retail trade, the walk-in over the shoulder trade. And that those are about a third each, if you just look at where lumber goes. Well, 2 of the 3 legs are doing pretty well. Who knows what industrial is going to do right now? Industrial is not as good. That's why there's huge spreads between economy and number 3 and say 2 and better lumber, right? The unprecedented spreads is a result of maybe they're not building as many pallets or crates for the retail segment of the market. But based on what we're seeing from the Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards contingent, that might change too. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what consumer sentiment and spending is here coming up in the next few weeks, because if they're following the trend of the retail guys in our side of the woods, it's going to be positive, So.
Yeah, no, good thought, Matt. I mean, are the mills? Did the mills come to the table now? Are they selling? I mean, how are they selling relative to what they were selling last week? I don't see it. I don't see as much of that.
They're all listening. If they've got something they want to talk about, they're going to listen on it. But it's a real fragmented market from the mills perspective too, because everybody's running different things. It's not like there's a, it's normal. It's just a normal market. I will go back to what Greg said earlier, along the lines of mills that didn't sell when they should have sold. He was talking about the cash market side of it, and I'm thinking more on the futures side of it. You had a futures market. It was up at 510, 515, 520 for an extended period of time. And I made the case, I think I might even said it on the show here, that, hey, this is like the perfect hedge. Or if you're a sawmill, you could just go sell your March production at some number that starts with a 5 and don't worry about it. And just worry about your February business, right? Just ignore March, just go sell the board, and then just worry about your February business. Well, I think a lot of mills missed that opportunity, and that might be one of the reasons why we've kind of overreacted to the downside here, that there just wasn't enough, strong sellers up in the 500s or high 400s. And now they overreacted after it broke loose. Oh gosh, we should have sold. Well, yeah, you should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting was when you look at what happened to the basis. I mean, we had a 2-week period where the board was carrying 60, 80 plus premiums to cash deliverable product and even bigger premiums to some of the undervalued items. And now in the period of 8 or 9 trading days, we've gone from that premium to, last time I looked, we were at a discount.
A sizable discount.
We're a 40, 50, we're a $45, $50 discount to print. And
honestly, Greg, this is a trader's dream. I mean, if you like to take risk and you understand basis, it's like this kind of movement is exactly what I wake up for in the morning. This is awesome. But the thing is, you got to act. You can't just talk about it. You can't just read a chart. You actually got to do something, And so when I hear about stories about people that, I wish I'd have done this, I just kind of, hey man, those are the breaks.
that guy I was talking about, Ash. The other thing was that, hey, doesn't matter all the things that you didn't do. It only matters the orders that you did. The only what matters is the things that you did buy and the things that you did sell.
No
you can't spend your time worrying about all the things that you didn't sell or didn't buy.
So with this discount like this and where we're getting into, I was talking to Mike here about it today. We're kind of getting into a forward selling market now at this discount.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw open interest go up yesterday for the first time in 2 weeks, and I think that's a reflection of that. Some people are starting to invest in the March contract.
The buy is May right now for second quarter business. There's, any of the multifamily guys that are out there that haven't covered second quarter jobs, now's the opportunity to do that for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Which is perfect because if you're doing it for May, you really probably don't have the room or want to put it on the ground right now, and you probably are able to sell at prices commensurate with today's cash market.
That and the reloading fees now are so much higher for storage, right? It's like back in the old days, they let you store lumber for 90 days without really charging you much. And now they're like, hey, $10 $1,000 per month. It's getting expensive to store lumber.
I got an interest bill last month, and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. Yeah. If you don't turn your lumber right now, Ash, if I'm in the business of turning my lumber over and over and over.
Yeah.
But some of the business that we do, we have to hold the wood, and it's expensive. And if that's your entire business, if all you do is buy and hold, it's getting even more expensive to find. It's harder to find reloads that want to do it that way, first of all.
Yeah.
But then if you do find reloads that'll let you just store lumber for 90 or 120 days, they charge you up the yin yang. It's not cheap. It used to be cheap. It's not cheap anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, cool guys. Anything else you want to go over? I'm running.
Have a great trip, Ash.
Yeah, I was telling Matt I may try to make it over to Portland for a day, if I can.
I'll be around. It snowed at my house the other day. Yesterday morning, I woke up with like an inch of snow. You're gonna have snow in Bend when you're over there for sure. Greg, how are you feeling, man? How are you doing? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm back up.
Are you 85, 90%?
Back up to 80%. I'm going out. I'm gonna hit some. I hit balls the other day, and it felt pretty good. I'm going back out today, and if that works out, I'm gonna get myself a game this weekend.
Awesome,
sweet. Love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for showing up. I appreciate everybody watching the show today. We'll look forward to doing it.
We're off next week because you're on the road, right?
I think I'm traveling back Wednesday, so it may be tough.
Yeah.
See you in 2 weeks. I think Russ Taylor's back then also. We'll get him.
You guys are going to have to get somebody to sub for me the first week of March because I'll be down in Texas traveling. So.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll be looking.
Maybe you can get Russ or one of our other cronies on the March 7th or 8th. That would be the date that I'll be down there.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
you boys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.